The evening Emma finally agreed to try riding a bike again did not begin with confidence but with hesitation that sat heavy in her chest, because the quiet suburban street in Oregon looked peaceful yet felt like a challenge waiting to expose every fear she had learned to hide, and as the sky slowly faded from pale blue to warm orange, she stood still beside an old blue bike with worn grips, wondering why she had even said yes, wondering why she had let her brother Daniel convince her that tonight was a good idea, when her hands were already shaking before she touched the handlebars, because riding a bike was never just about balance for her, it was about trust, and trust was something life had taken from her piece by piece over the years, especially after love had once promised safety and then disappeared without warning, leaving her standing alone in a silence that felt louder than any argument, and Daniel noticed this hesitation the moment he stepped beside her, his presence calm and steady like it had always been since they were kids growing up in a small town, where he had been the one to walk her home from school, the one to sit quietly beside her when words were too hard to say, and now he gently placed one hand on the seat of the bike as if it weighed nothing at all, telling her in a soft voice to just look forward and breathe, not rushing her, not teasing her, just waiting, and that patience somehow made the moment feel heavier because it meant he believed she could do it, and Emma took a breath that felt too shallow and pushed the pedal forward, her body stiff, her eyes fixed on the road ahead, the bike wobbling almost immediately as fear rushed through her like cold water, and she nearly fell before Daniel caught the bike with an easy grip, steadying both it and her without a word of judgment, just a small laugh that carried warmth instead of mockery, reminding her of summers long ago when scraped knees were met with bandages and quiet smiles instead of lectures, and that memory softened something inside her even as embarrassment burned her cheeks. But Daniel only said she was doing better than she thought, and that simple sentence stayed with her because it was the opposite of what her own mind kept telling her every day, that she was behind, that she had failed, that everyone else had moved on while she remained stuck, and as she tried again, pushing the pedals with more force this time, the bike moved faster than she expected. The wind brushing her face and stirring emotion she had locked away, because motion felt dangerous when you had learned how painful stopping could be, and the streetlights flickered on one by one as if marking time she had wasted standing still. And Daniel walked beside her, his hands still on the seat, his steps easy, his breathing calm, telling her not to look down, not at the ground, not at her feet, because that was where fear lived, and Emma listened, not because she fully trusted herself, but because she trusted him, and that trust gave her just enough courage to keep moving even as her heart raced, because she knew that if she fell, he would be there, and that thought alone made the ride feel possible, and as the bike rolled forward, wobbling less with each second, Emma felt something unfamiliar but welcome, a small spark of pride, because she was doing something she had avoided for years, something simple yet meaningful, something that asked her to move forward instead of standing still, and though she did not know it yet, this moment on a quiet street with her brother walking beside her was not just about learning how to ride a bike, but about facing the fear of moving on, about testing whether her heart could handle momentum again, and as the bike steadied beneath her and the road stretched ahead, Emma felt the first hint that this night would leave a mark on her life, not because of what she was doing, but because of what she was about to understand. Emma felt the wind against her face as she pedaled, the blue bike moving steadier now under her growing confidence, and for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to feel something like freedom, the kind she hadn't felt since heartbreak had made her retreat into caution and quiet, and Daniel jogged beside her, keeping pace without touching the bike, his presence a constant reassurance, reminding her that support didn't always have to come with control, and when he said softly, "You can't control everything. Balance comes when you trust yourself," his words struck deeper than she expected, echoing feelings she had tried to ignore for months, because learning to ride a bike again was mirroring her life in ways she hadn't realized, showing her that moving forward required a delicate mix of courage and faith, and Emma's heart clenched as she thought about past mistakes, about love lost, about the walls she had built around herself that kept joy out as carefully as they kept pain in, yet with each pedal, each wobble she survived, she felt those walls shift slightly, giving her a glimpse of possibility, a whisper of hope, and Daniel's eyes, steady and full of quiet understanding, never left her face, silently telling her that it was okay to be afraid, that falling didn't make her weak, and as she pedaled further, the moment stretched longer than it should have, the fading sunset painting the street in gold and rose, making everything feel fragile and beautiful, while Emma's thoughts drifted to what she had avoided, to the relationships she had let slip through her fingers, to the longing she had hidden even from herself, and though she hadn't spoken, Daniel seemed to sense it, pausing briefly to watch her breathe, to watch her smile shyly as balance came more naturally with each second, and she realized that she was learning more than just how to ride a bike, she was learning that she could trust herself again, that she could move without fear weighing her down, that she could accept the thrill of momentum even when it made her heart pound, and when Daniel finally let go of the seat completely, she froze for a heartbeat, panic rising, but then her muscles remembered the rhythm, her body adjusted, and she wrote on her own, a mixture of terror and triumph flooding her at once, and as she stopped to catch her breath, her chest heaving, the quiet of the evening felt suddenly intimate, like the world had shrunk just for them, leaving only her, Daniel, and the small miracle of progress she had made, and in that silence, unspoken words hung heavy, the kind that carried concern, pride, and perhaps even something tender that Emma wasn't ready to name yet, and Daniel's thoughtful expression hinted at something more important than praise, something he had been waiting to tell her all along, and the air seemed charged with expectation, with the knowledge that this ride was not just a lesson in balance or courage, but a delicate turning point, a moment suspended between past fears and the uncertain, promising future, leaving Emma breathless not just from the exercise but from the quiet realization that life, like writing, required letting go, trusting, and moving forward, and she felt ready to listen when Daniel finally said the words that would change the course of the evening. Emma and Daniel sat on the curb as the night settled softly over the quiet neighborhood, the air cool and calm, carrying the faint scent of autumn leaves and freshly cut grass. And for a moment, neither spoke, as if the silence itself was giving weight to what was about to be said, because Emma sensed that this was more than a lesson about bikes, that Daniel had something important he needed to share, something that could not be rushed or ignored, and when he finally spoke, his voice was gentle but steady. "I didn't teach you to ride a bike just because you asked," and those words made Emma pause, her mind searching for meaning, unsure of what he meant, and Daniel looked at her with a seriousness that made her chest tighten, the kind of look that siblings sometimes give when they are about to cross the line from care into truth, and he continued, explaining that he had wanted her to see that life could move forward even after loss, that she had been standing still too long since Mark left, and hearing Mark's name aloud made her heart ache, stirring memories she had tucked away, memories of laughter and arguments, of promises made and broken, of late-night texts and the painful silence that followed, and she realized that Daniel had noticed everything, the way she avoided risks, the way she guarded her heart, the way she measured every step and every emotion as if life itself were a tightrope, and she felt exposed, yet not in a threatening way, because Daniel's presence was comforting, his words wrapped in love and understanding rather than criticism, and he told her that he wanted her to remember her own strength, that the courage to move forward was still inside her, that falling didn't mean failure, and that she could trust herself again, that there was a life beyond the heartbreak, one where she could allow herself to feel, to hope, to open her heart without fear. And as Emma listened, tears blurred her vision, her emotions tangled between relief, sadness, and longing, and she realized that what she had thought was just a simple bike lesson was actually a metaphor for life itself, for the risks we must take, the fear we must face, and the courage we must find to keep moving even when the ground feels uncertain. And Daniel reached out, offering her the bike once more, not to control her, but to let her choose, to give her the chance to take the next step, to pedal into the unknown with him cheering silently behind her, and Emma's hands gripped the handlebars tighter, her heart pounding, knowing that this moment was bigger than balance or fear, that it was about trust, about listening to someone who saw her completely, about understanding that love, whether for life, for people, or for herself, required bravery, and as she breathed in the crisp night air, she felt a fragile hope taking root. A sense that she could let go of the past without forgetting it, that she could ride forward even if she didn't know what awaited her, and Daniel's steady gaze, full of quiet pride and unspoken care, made her feel seen in a way she hadn't felt in months, reminding her that the greatest lessons often came not from words, but from moments shared, and that sometimes the hardest truth was simply realizing that someone believed in you even when you had stopped believing in yourself. Leaving Emma on the curb that night with a heart both heavy and light, ready to take the next ride, ready to face whatever life had to offer, and aware that Daniel's words would stay with her forever, a gentle guide through fear, heartbreak, and the tentative steps toward hope. Emma lifted herself onto the bike once more, feeling the familiar grip of the handlebars in her hands, the worn blue paint reflecting the soft glow of the streetlights, and this time, Daniel did not run beside her, instead standing a few feet behind with a quiet pride in his eyes, letting her find her own rhythm, and as she pedaled forward, the nervous flutter in her chest slowly transformed into a steady beat of confidence, each turn of the pedals a reminder that she was capable of movement, of progress, of facing uncertainty without immediate support, and the cool night air brushed past her face, carrying the faint scent of rain and pine, making her feel awake and alive in a way she had not felt since the heartbreak that had kept her frozen in place, and with every wobble she corrected, every breath she took, she felt the invisible weight of fear and hesitation lifting, replaced by the thrilling tension of freedom and possibility, as if the road ahead was not just a path of asphalt, but a symbol of all the choices she could still make, the risks she could still take, and the love she could still allow into her life. And when she reached the end of the block and paused, her chest heaving and her hair sticking lightly to her forehead from the exertion, she turned back to see Daniel watching her. small, proud smile playing on his lips, and in that moment, Emma realized the depth of what he had taught her, that riding a bike was never about the mechanics, but about courage, trust, and letting go of the fear that binds the heart. That momentum in life, just like momentum on a bike, comes from daring to move forward even when you cannot see the whole path, and she felt a surge of gratitude, warmth, and something like longing, emotions tangled together, filling the empty spaces left by months of caution and retreat. And as she pedaled back toward him, the night seemed to expand, the street quiet except for the soft hum of tires on pavement, carrying with it a sense of possibility and gentle suspense, that the future was open, that love, happiness, and fulfillment were not gone, only waiting for her courage to meet them. And as Daniel's hand lifted in a wave, proud but respectful of her independence, Emma understood that this lesson, simple on the surface but profound in truth, was about learning to ride not just the bike, but life itself, embracing uncertainty, trusting in herself, and allowing the heart to feel again, to hope again, to risk again. And as she rode past him, a mix of exhilaration and calm washing over her, she realized she was ready for whatever came next, ready to face life with openness and bravery, knowing that Daniel's guidance had given her more than balance, it had given her belief, and the soft promise of new beginnings, leaving her heart lighter, her spirit stronger, and the quiet night filled with the gentle thrill of possibilities stretching endlessly before her.